Well, this diminutive slab here is the remains of a pterosaur wing, but the story involved with it is quite a long sort of story, quite hairy, really quite hairy sort of story, in the sense of we go out on spring tides normally collecting, and the lower the tide, if you imagine on the ledges, the higher it raises up on the beach, so it's correspondingly high and low. So extreme low at Kimmeridge at that time is 4 o'clock, and after that the tide then rapidly turns and starts coming back in quite quickly. And it was about 3:45 when I walking along these ledges, deep in thought on my own, and I looked down on the ledge and I saw what I knew were pterosaur bones, and I thought, oh my God. And there were more than one bone, which is unusual, you know, and I got quite excited, and I could see there were more bones. So if you can imagine, you can't see the rest of it, so you've got to cut a huge red slab out to make sure you're not cutting through this, any more bones that were there. And as I was cutting down, I was making sure that I hadn't hit any bones, which I did. But in the back of my mind was the thing that the tide is now starting to turn. So if you look across this slab, you see there's a natural joint across there. So I concentrated on one slab first, and within, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes perhaps, I popped that up, and it was probably about that thick. And popped that, and I thought, great, I've got that. So put that to one side, and then concentrated on the next slab, which came out again after about 15-20 minutes. Stuck them in the rucksack and separated them again so they didn't rub together. But when I went to pick the rucksack up, I realised I couldn't sort of lift it. It was really, really, really heavy. And I thought, well, I can't stash these. Normally what we do is we store these up at the top of the beach to actually come back later, and I couldn't go back on the Saturday anyhow. And also with the tides, they'd be smacking up against the cliff, so I couldn't hide them there because they'd be destroyed. So I thought, okay, so I sat down on the ledge, slid my arms through the rucksack, sort of rolled onto all fours, and managed to pull myself up and get up on the legs. And I realised then the weight on my back was tremendous, and I thought, well, I'm never going to be able to take this back. I started to sort of panic, because I thought, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know. And so, and this is honest. I thought, well, I should have a go. I was going to walk. So I walked a few paces, and it wasn't up the pain on the back. It's actually on the top of my thighs. They were burning like hell. I thought, Christ, this is heavy. So I thought, I'll take it a stage at a time. I'll go on a few paces, you know, 100 yards or so, and then stop, and then go on again like that, which I did. And I thought, well, if I have a heart attack and die through this bloody weight on my back, I hope someone realises that on my back is something really important. And there was no phone signal there at all, no mobile phone signal whatsoever. So it was quite a nice evening, and it wasn't windy, so all you could hear then was the tide starting to boom as the waves get bigger, you know, and it gets more rough and it's coming in. And you've got 2.5 miles to go, sort of thing, and you're walking along. Anyhow, cut long story short, after about 1.5 miles or something like that, by then I was physically exhausted. I mean, I really was, honestly. And so walking across one promontory, what we call Claver's Hard, my foot just touched a bit of weed, and the weight on my back, it just slid me straight on my back. And there was a bit of an Anglo-Saxon language, because I thought, falling on the back, I'd broken the slabs. So I slid the slabs out. No, they're fine, they're great. So I righted the rucksack up and realised that actually falling over, the arm had pulled out on the rucksack. I was carrying more rucksack. I was really disappointed about that, but it broke. So panic then set in. I thought, I can't carry this, what am I going to do? So I tried for a phone signal again. I had a phone signal. And luckily my boys were still doing an extension on my house. So I said to my youngest boy, look, is the oldest one there still there? Yeah, he's still there. I said, well, can you get him to come down quickly with the rucksack, because I'm in trouble, I need, you know, to give him a hand. Yeah, okay, fine. So sort of waiting, because you're waiting, it seemed like hours, and in the distance it's now getting dark. I could see a little light coming, a little tiny light, and I sort of ran towards him. And I thought he was walking sedately, you know, he wasn't even running, but of course, you know, it's quite dark. And when he came up to me, I said, well, where's the rucksack, Rick? He said, well, no one told me about a rucksack. Oh, no. So quick, come on, get us back and see if we can lift this rucksack between us. Now, my son, you know, could do, what was it, 800 press-ups in a night. He'd do things of 100, you know what I mean? So he's pretty sort of fit kitty, and he was into weightlifting. But when we tried to carry this rucksack between us, it's impossible. So panic set in then, and I said, look, right, so I slid the slabs out. They're equally as large as each other. I said, can you take a slab? He said, yeah, I'll take a slab. Whatever you do, don't drop it. he said, what are you going to do with that rucksack? I said, well, we have jets in it. So I had all the tools and in everything and that, just left it there. And so we concentrated on getting these slabs back. Now, when you're carrying something back, it's not so, you know, you're on your head, it's on your shoulder, and it's getting even more heavy. I was just about at it, but he was carrying. But we still had to stop, so it was quite good that he had to stop as well. You couldn't just carry it on. And then we gradually getting sort of back, but in the distance we could see a huge red light coming, and the whole of the sort of cliff was lit up because they were coming around the promontory, but you could only see the light sort of reflecting up off the cliff. And as they come around the promontory, this bloody great light was shining in their eyes. Like, oh, for God's sake, someone must have called the Coast Guard out. Oh, and you could just imagine in the news, 2 fossil collectors rescued by these hero Coast Guards. And I thought, oh, that'd be the last thing I'd want. I'd die of shame. So, as they come towards us, and we're just carrying on with the instructions for Rick, don't drop the slab, don't drop the slab. And as they came up and got about 50 yards away, it wasn't the Coast Guard, it was my wife and my other son. So now the whole family's out. Imagine this, the tide's really whacking in there. And I thought, oh God, what have I done? Whole family's out. Anyhow, cut a long story short, my youngest son, who was bigger than the oldest one, picked up the slab with the instructions not to drop it. And we were off the beach by about, I was home by 6 o'clock, I think. I wasn't allowed in the door, by the way. I had to take all these clothes off, that was filthy. And now when you see this slab, and it's all been cleaned up, you say how small it is, you can lift it with one hand virtually. But you don't realise the sort of the trials and tribulations that you know, gave me. But when you look at it, it's a holotype, just completely new to size. Interestingly, the one flight bone is actually broken, so presumably it must have broken its wing flying across the sea, got caught in a storm or something, you know what I mean? And since then, I found more bones of this. I found 2 more bones of this. So gradually, as it found extreme low water, there may be more of this animal still to come out.